Welcome everyone. I love seeing so many SDRs at these events. So good to see so many of you here. And also, obviously, thanks to James Ski for organizing this. I think this might be my 10th Sales Confidence SDR event, which makes me feel really old. And it's great to be given the opportunity to speak again. And I think everyone who has met me knows how much I love building up the SDR community. Going to plug SDRs of London. If you don't already follow that, get on LinkedIn. We've got a WhatsApp group of like 200 members, always sharing. Now, before I wanted to go on to my talk, I wanted to provide everyone with a bit of context and background on me and the advice that I'm going to share. So my name is Jack Neicho. I was an SDR for 3 years, which I know is a very long time. I sold a MarTech platform for 2 years before moving on to SalesLoft as one of the first SDRs in the new EMEA team. Now, before moving to SalesLoft, my goal was to become an AE as quickly as possible. I didn't matter where, as long as I had that title. I was done with the SDR role. And to be completely honest with everyone, I felt a bit embarrassed that my friends had been promoted as SDRs before I had, and I had started before them. Some even got promoted after 6 months. Now, I'm going to talk to you today, everyone, about the 3 pieces of advice that I wish someone had told me when I started out as an SDR. Now, the first of which is make the right choice for your career. Secondly, invest in your own development. And lastly, build your personal brand both internally and externally. Now, firstly, making the right choice for your future career. When I wanted to leave my first SDR role, every role I applied for, bar SalesLoft, was to become an AE. What you should consider when thinking for the future is that your sales career is not a sprint, it's a marathon. Now, my dad had spent 30 plus years in sales and enterprise SaaS, so I had a great mentor to turn to for advice. Now, as an exercise, he got me to jot down where I wanted to be in my career in 3 and then 5 years' time. And I'd recommend all of you do this, jot it down on a piece of paper or on your Mac. Now, I think a huge part of being successful in sales is backing that right horse. Now, that horse, so to say, doesn't necessarily have to be the next billion-dollar unicorn SaaS company. It can be a 20-person startup, but it's the horse that's going to ensure you're going to be where you want to be when you align with those 3 to 5 year goals. And more importantly, you're going to get the right support as an SDR to be set up for that future success, and that you can learn and grow not only as a person, but also as a professional. Now, for me, I believe the 3 key priorities when looking for a new role, and you can jot these down: finding the right leader and team, a company that's going to align to your values, and lastly, a product that you actually believe in that you're going to sell. Now, it took me 4 years in 3 roles to find all of these, so don't expect to do it straight on your first one. Now, this leads me on to my second point, finding a company that's going to invest in you. Now, when I joined SalesLoft, one of the things I wanted to do was make sure that I was going to be mastering the SDR craft and completely invest in myself and future success. Now, again, there were 3 key components to this. Firstly, I quickly found out who the top 2 SDRs in the US at SalesLoft were, who was the top SDR manager, who were the top 2 account executives, and I scheduled bi-weekly calls for training and enablement with all of them. I needed to understand what made my peers so successful that I could then replicate, and I would highly recommend you go and do the same. Secondly, try to increase the rate of your learning. Block out a minimum of 2 hours every single week for self-enablement. I personally used to block out after 5:30 p.m. for call reviews and extra industry learning. Hopefully your company has invested in a call coaching platform. Lol, if you haven't, hit me up. I know Richard's on here from Refract as well. That allows you to listen back to your calls of yours and your peers. Again, align with this on the point 1. Who are the top reps in your company? What do they say in their discoveries? How do they pitch? If you're an experienced SDR going into that AE role soon, listen to calls further down the sales process. How do those top reps negotiate? If you don't have the ability to listen back to calls, continue coaching and guidance from other reps in your one-to-ones like we explained before. Lastly, find out what you're great at as an SDR and position yourself as a thought leader internally and externally on that. Now, me personally, I was a very early mover on testing video prospecting in Europe 2 years ago, which feels crazy. Now everyone's testing it or using it as an effective channel. And as I became more successful at using video at SalesLoft or Vidyards, I started to share that best practice with SDR communities and our customers. And then I started to post about it on LinkedIn, which was really the kickoff of my brand and helping me succeed externally. And I see the same from other great SDRs on LinkedIn. Aaron from Clean, Harry Monkhouse on Cold Call Training, Holly Allen, LinkedIn Tips, Charlie Johnson, Tom Boston, they're all doing it. Now to recap, think about how to stand out from your colleagues and peers. Network internally with the top reps. Upskill yourself to become the master of what you enjoy and what you're good at. Now think about it this way. Ultimately, salespeople are likely to be the ones that will be employing you later on in your career. So it's great to start building that name and presence online. Lastly, this is going to tie into my last topic. Building your brand both externally, which everyone always talks about, it's just as important to do it internally. Now, in my opinion, to accelerate your career progression, it's not only about consistently hitting your number, but by becoming the ultimate team player, by being the person that your colleagues are going to turn to for advice or help, consistently going above and beyond what is expected of you in your role. Now, this comes from making sure that you've chosen that right company to grow your career, ensuring you align with the core values and you believe in what you're going to sell. And crucially, your behavior matches where you want to be in the 3 to 5 year goals that you set out. Now, to share what my 3 to 5 year goals were when I left to join SalesLoft, mine were to become the master SDR, to become a face in the SDR community in London and the UK, and lastly, to upskill myself to the point where it was a no-brainer for my next leader to promote me to become an account executive. Now, I tried my absolute hardest to achieve those first two, which ultimately led into the third overarching goal, which was to become a successful AE when the time came. And I would like to think that I achieved that, but you can go and ask my boss, Ollie, if he thinks otherwise. So in conclusion, what I've talked about, when thinking about the pressures of getting to that next stage in your career, as a lot of you will be on this call, getting to that AE level, right? Or if you want to move into CS or account management, whatever it's going to be, make sure you figured out where you want to be to do that, what you want to achieve in the next 3 to 5 years, upskill yourself, become a master of your craft, and lastly, build your brand externally and importantly, internally.